Tennessee is not a surprise at all. I like that they're going for it. They still, when you look at the AFC, with all due respect to the AFC South, which is not as bad as it's been in recent years, or in some years in the last 10 years, but it's the weakest, I believe, by far of all the AFC teams. I mean, really, the AFC East is good except the Jets. The AFC North is really good in totality. You get Burrow back there. They're a team that could clip you. The West has a ton of talent. And really, outside of the South, the Texans will be horrendous. Jacksonville has a year or two to go.
Yep.
It is an incredibly winnable division, but it's also the kind of division, Teak, because it's still very much rebuilding and going through this transformation. If the Tennessee Titans and the Colts are obviously good too, no doubt, but if the Titans and or the Colts are healthy and or fully clicking, that's the kind of division where one of those two teams could win maybe 12 or 13 games and host a few games.
Yeah, no, you're right. Not only that, because of how, especially if they end up giving Julio Jones an extension, not like a long one, but keeping him there for a couple of years. If with Derrick Henry locked up for the foreseeable future, with Ryan Tannehill, he's signing a deal that's going to keep him there. A.J. Brown's still young. He's still on his rookie deal. He's got 3 more years on his rookie deal. He's there. If Julio there, I mean, this team could be competitive and not own the division outright, because I think Indy has a chance to be great as well because their defense is solid, but they could be one of those teams that we're consistently talking about coming out of the AFC. Now, maybe there's an upgrade potential with Ryan Tannehill, but if he plays the way that he played 2 years ago and at times last season, I'm not saying he had a repeat of his breakout season last year, but if he rises to an occasion because he now has a Julio Jones and a run game that's maybe one of the best in the game right now, then this team should be able, at least viable. I mean, not able to win a Super Bowl, but viable to win a Super Bowl.
Well, I'm stopping short of that. I'm not putting that. I'm not going to put the Tennessee Titans up in that stratosphere. I don't love their offensive line. I don't. The defense had a few additions, which is good, but they lost some players. Man, now obviously Julio Jones.
They lost some offensive players.
Well, I'm sorry, Teague, say that again.
They lost offensive players.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. But
Jonnu Smith.
They lost their tight end to the Pats. They lost Corey Davis to the Jets. Julio Jones cancels out, and then some for sure.
Yep.
So that's fine with the Corey Davis. They won't miss Corey Davis, who's good, but he's not. Definitely not Julio Jones. I don't. Maybe this comes back to a referendum. It's been a couple of years since we've had to have this discussion on Ryan Tannehill. We've gone in circles. There was a point where. I know speaking.
He's confounding, man. I know what you're saying. I can hear you. I can hear it in your voice.
You already know where I'm going.
Of course I do.
I remember when he was with the Dolphins. I remember saying, that this guy's not as bad as you think. They're not using him right, and he's a good athlete. He's got a good arm. He's got quick feet. He doesn't have the great coaching. Doesn't have a lot around him. And then he went and he sat for pretty much a year in Tennessee. And then when he played, they picked things up. And then of course he had some good playoff moments. He was very good. Now though. It's not a cute little story anymore. Now it's like, okay, you want to swim in the deep end of the pool. And I'm not saying that the answer is definitively no. I'm bringing this up for discussion. Are we at the point now where if the Tennessee Titans, assuming full health for all teams here, if the Tennessee Titans have to roll into Cleveland, all right, to face the Browns in the playoffs, or up to Buffalo to face the Bills in the playoffs, or out to Arrowhead to face the Chiefs, or even up to Gillette, if things click there, would they be favored in any of those games?
I don't think so.
Not even to mention the Chargers.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Or the Steelers.
BT. Now this team does score, right? I had to look it up, and I thought they were top 10. They're actually top 5 in scoring, and they were the number 2 offense. Now, obviously, a lot of that is predicated on the run game. You just control time of possession, and you grind out 240-yard days. Obviously, Derrick Henry is a big part of that, but they do have a good stable of running backs, and so it's not as pretty, it's explosive as the Buffalo Bills have become or the Kansas City Chiefs have been, but it is a dynamic and explosive scoring type offense, and so. I'm a little bit hesitant to say no, especially now with the addition of Julio Jones, because there's one thing that we know about Julio is that he can score. He's got a big body, right? He's just got to stay healthy. If he's healthy, we believe, you look at what he could potentially bring. It's exciting in Tennessee. Now, the challenge will be this Ryan Tannehill that we've gotten the last couple of years, where he's no turnovers, basically. What do you have, 7 interceptions last year, I think?
Is that what I don't have it in front of me?
I think it was,
he protects the football.
I think it was 7, and the year before he only had 6, but he threw 33 touchdowns, and, if he plays the way that he has been the last couple of years, and it's a big if, and I hate to say it because he's 32 years old and he's been around for a long time. He's a starter for a long time in Miami. Kind of got put into the, all right, you're on the downside of your career. He reinvigorated. He climbed back up the mountain. But at what point is that fool's gold, or is it the real thing that we're looking at? And so it's weird. Like he proved himself, got a contract extension, but we still have doubts about him
a little bit because
of the history. Now we all know that.
Well, doubts to win a Super.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Doubts to be that elite player.
Yeah.
Right. Because my criteria, BT, and I say this all the time. Yeah, if you're going to win a Super Bowl, your quarterback better be a Hall of Fame quality. Maybe not making the Hall of Fame, but you better have an elite defense, or your quarterback is a Hall of Fame quality type player.
Yep. And history bears that out. But you
history
backed that
bears
up before.
it up. But. And so I don't know if Ryan Tannehill is that. Now,
he's definitely not.
Of
course he's not a Hall of Fame.
But he could play like one. The point is, he could play like one. Like he could have a season where he throws 40 touchdowns and 8 interceptions.
And you and I could have a day where we shoot 84.
True. That'll happen one of these days. That's going to happen one of these days.
That's right. Damn it.
Believe it. There's no water in front of you.
Nope.
Right in the middle of the fairway.
We're going to get to the Rom situation in about 35 minutes. That was a joke, but this happens in sports, and it's tricky because we're redefining our expectations as we go for a player that we were never fully sure about.
That's right.
And sometimes even your eyes can betray you and your instincts. Like, we're not sitting here saying, is Ryan Tannehill good enough to win a division?
The answer is clearly yes.
Of course, no doubt. I mean, absolutely. Is he good enough to win a playoff game? Yeah. Sure. Can he win the Super Bowl? I mean,
yeah.
And here, let me throw this at you. My gut says no, but not as strongly as I would, as maybe as for some. Like I am leaving the door. I like Ryan. I do.
Yes.
But here's my question. So they're also structured offensively very uniquely, where Derrick Henry gets the ball 30-something times a game when it matters.
That's right.
All right.
Second in the league in rush attempts.
Yeah, and it's served them very well, and it's
attempts,
also made
yards,
Ryan Tannehill.
Attempts, yards, and touchdowns, yards per carry.
He's a beast.
They're amazing on the ground.
If they had an average run game, we're not talking about the Tennessee Titans.
No, not at all.
That has elevated Ryan Tannehill. It's elevated their profile. It's probably emboldened them to go and make a move for somebody like Julio Jones because they're closer than they would have been if they had an average or a scat back type. The point is that when it's go time, Derrick Henry's getting the ball 30-something times in his belly. How many times are you going to actually throw the ball to Julio Jones?
Yeah,
are we making too much of the? How many catches is he going to?
I mean,
how many targets?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I'm looking at last year's receiving totals. So A.J. Brown led the team with 70 receptions. 76.5%.
Minuscule for the NFL.
I agree. 76.5%. And that's not, he didn't miss a bunch of them. 76.5% completion percentage. So,
catch ratio?
Catch ratio. Actually, no, 66% catch ratio, which actually isn't that great.
No, it's not that great.
Right? So,
not terrible, but
then 2 was 65% or 65 catches. And so, and then you got your tight end at 41. So there's just not a ton. They don't throw a ton of balls.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So if he's going to a team that's going to, fling it around, air it out 40 times a game, there's real reason to be excited about Julio Jones. I'm not saying Titan fans shouldn't be excited. Him lining up automatically makes Derrick Henry better. So there's a residual impact as well.
That's right.
Because you've got to work. I get that, but
you're not leaving him one-on-one, basically. No. Julio Jones.
And if you do, you're going to get gashed in a few other spots with the running back and even with Brown. But if Derrick's getting it 32, 33 times a game, and Brown's getting his fill, like, how many times is Julio Jones going to see the ball?
It's a great question. And is he going to be upset about it if he does it? I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, he is 32, and we did this exercise last week, BT, where we looked at the 32-year-old year 32 seasons of some of the really good wide receivers like Larry Fitzgerald, who was he was okay, but I mean you could see he was starting to age. Randy Moss, his last great season was that 50. Actually, he had 20, I think 5 touchdowns in that season, 24 touchdowns in that season. Tom Brady had 50. That was the undefeated regular season where they lost in the Super Bowl. And then there's a couple of others that you point to, and you're like, okay, great. T.O. was another one. That was the year that the Philadelphia Eagles went to the Super Bowl, and he had a great year, even despite breaking his leg and coming back. So it's that year where it's make or break for wide receivers. You're either going to have a great one and extend your elite status for a couple more seasons, or it's all right, you hit the wall. Thanks for participating type of thing. Yeah. And so there's question marks on Julio Jones, as well as question marks on how Julio is going to be used in this offense, because they run the ball 30 times a game, 40 times a game.